Well, let's unpack this. We are diving deep today into the story of a man who didn't just accept a, a profound physical reality. He engineered it.
He absolutely did. He built it into a 40-year dynasty.
Yeah, 40-year dynasty. It's incredible. He transformed what so many people would have seen as, just an anomaly into one of the most respected and really enduring stage acts in American history.
Exactly.
We're talking about Francesco Frank Lentini, known across the globe as the three-legged man.
And when you first encounter that label, the three-legged man, it sounds, I don't know, like a simple historical curiosity, right?
It's a sideshow act.
Just a sideshow act. But the sources we've gathered, they reveal something so much more complex. We're talking about a master showman, a family man, and this is key, an astute businessman who negotiated the really volatile world of American entertainment for 4 decades.
So our mission today is, I think, simple on the surface, but it's ambitious. We want to move you past the superficial spectacle. We need to understand the intricate medical reality of his condition, which was a parasitic twin, and then explore this astonishing path he forged. I mean, achieving U.S. citizenship, building a stable domestic life.
And earning the absolute highest respect from his peers. I mean, they didn't just respect him, they affectionately crowned him the king.
The king. It's an incredible title.
It is, and it's a remarkable narrative of human agency. So we're using a detailed biographical summary as our map today, and we're going to trace his journey chronologically. We're going from his birth in a small Sicilian town in the late 19th century,
Right.
following the arduous, constant travel of his career across major continents, and then eventually to his settled later life and his death in Tennessee in the mid-1960s.
So get ready for a story about, I think, adaptation and just incredible entrepreneurial resilience.
Yeah, that's it, exactly.
So here's where the journey begins, and it's where the context of the man's life is first established.
The very beginning.
Frank Lentini was born Francesco Lentini on May 18, 1889, in Rossellini, which is a municipality in Sicily. The records are so specific, they even detail his birth at Agentoli Street.
And that grounding detail is important, isn't it? It places him in a very traditional, very close-knit Mediterranean community. This is a time when medical knowledge was localized and superstitions were incredibly common.
Very common. In that context, immediately you could just feel it. It amplifies the impact of his birth.
Oh, absolutely. And Frank wasn't an only child or one of 2. He was the 5th of 12 children in that household.
12.
12. 7 sisters and 5 brothers. I mean, can you imagine the sheer logistics of raising that many children in that time and place? And then the emotional and social weight that landed on the family with Frank's arrival.
The sources are, well, they're brutally honest about that initial reaction.
Yeah.
They state that his parents were initially disgraced.
Disgraced. That's such a powerful word.
It is. In a small Sicilian town in 1889, a physical birth anomaly of this magnitude. It wasn't just a medical issue, was it?
Not at all. It was often viewed through a lens of societal failure or, even worse, as some kind of divine displeasure. The stigma would have been immense.
And that societal pressure must have been just overwhelming. It led to this powerful early separation. The parents gave young Frank into the care of his aunt, the wife of his uncle, Corrado Falco.
Right. And that initial rejection, I mean, even if it was born out of just overwhelming circumstance and fear, it really sets the stage for the rest of his life.
How so?
Well, he was someone who, from infancy, had to find his own way. He had to operate outside of the expected family structure from day one. He learned independence because he had to.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And to truly understand the challenge he overcame, we have to spend some real time defining his physical reality. I mean, just calling him the three-legged man really doesn't do justice to the medical complexity he managed every single day.
No, it doesn't.
We need to discuss the anatomy of the anomaly, the crucial medical details that informed his entire life.
Exactly. This is where we have to move past the spectacle and get into the science of it. Lentini was born with a condition that we now define as an incomplete or parasitic twin.
So it wasn't a mutation.
No, not a mutation in the way we might think of it. It was the underdeveloped remains of a conjoined twin who did not fully separate or develop in utero. And this structure was attached to Frank's body at the base of his spine.
And that detail, the attachment point at the base of his spine, that's critical, isn't it? It explains why simply removing the extra limb wasn't an option.
It was never an option, especially not in the late 19th century. The risk of paralysis or death would have been astronomical. The attachment point was highly complex, almost certainly involving shared blood vessels, nerves, and structures near his pelvis and spine.
The anatomy of the twin itself confirms that complexity. The sources say the parasitic twin was far more than just a leg.
Far more. It included a rudimentary, though apparently functional, pelvic bone, and a frequently overlooked detail, it also included a rudimentary set of male genitalia.
Right. Which explains the later description of Lentini having two sets of genitalia. There was the full set belonging to Frank, and then the underdeveloped set belonging to the twin structure.
Exactly. And then, of course, there was the most visible element, the full-sized leg extending from his right hip.
But even that isn't the whole story, is it? There's a detail that often escapes notice.
The fourth foot.
The fourth foot.
The entire parasitic structure also contained a small fourth foot that actually protruded from the knee of the third leg. So it was this incredibly intricate, interconnected biological structure.
So when we summarize the legend, it's really rooted in medical fact. Lentini navigated his entire life with 3 legs, 4 feet, and 2 sets of genitals. This was the fundamental physical reality he had to manage from the moment he was born.
And manage it he did. There's early evidence of intervention, which is fascinating.
At just 4 months old, he was sent to Naples to be examined by a specialist.
And that tells you something, doesn't it? It shows that while the initial parental reaction may have been one of disgrace, the adoptive family, his aunt and uncle, immediately prioritized seeking expert medical counsel.
Even if surgery was impossible.
Right. Even if it was deemed too risky, the fact that they took him all the way to Naples shows they were trying to understand and help, not just hide him away.
And the prognosis of permanence. The fact that this was his reality for life. It led to a shift in focus, didn't it? It moved from how do we fix this to how do we live with this?
Integration and mobility. That became the goal. And by age 5, the sources note that Frank was not only socializing, he was out playing with other children, but he had also achieved a remarkable degree of physical control over the anomaly.
He was able to straighten that third leg. I mean, that's a significant feat of muscular control.
It is. But here is the critical distinction we need to emphasize for you listening. That third leg, despite his control over it, could not be used to walk.
So it wasn't a functional limb for mobility.
Precisely. It was an appendage, a functional prop, if you will, but it lacked the complete weight-bearing biomechanical structure, the necessary muscle groups and fully articulated joints to provide independent ambulation. He learned to position it, lift it, kick with it.
But he couldn't stand on it.
He could not. It was not a third pillar for mobility in the way his other 2 legs were.
Which brings us to the irony. The detail that truly defined his later showmanship and his incredible wit. The specific, precise measurements of his limbs.
These numbers are essential. They really are, because they provide the perfect setup for his most famous quote.
Let's hear them.
Okay, so his 2 primary legs, the ones he actually used to walk, were already slightly mismatched. One measured 99 centimeters and the other 97 centimeters.
A small difference, but a difference nonetheless.
A difference, yes. And the third leg, the famous appendage.
That one was even shorter.
It was the shortest of the 3, measuring only 91 centimeters, and it terminated in that club foot we mentioned, the 4th protruding foot.
So Lentini was navigating the world with 3 legs, and none of them were the same length or possessed the same utility.
Exactly. And this leads directly to his legendary dry-witted complaint. He often remarked that even with 3 legs, he still did not have a pair.
That's the quote. It's just brilliant.
It's the genius of Frank Lentini in a nutshell. That quote, that moment of self-deprecating humor, is the pivot point for his whole life story.
How so?
It shows a man who internalized his anomaly, refused to be victimized by it, and instead used it as the basis for connection and humor with his audience. It's the moment the medical anomaly transforms into a compelling stage persona, a human being who understands the absurdity of his own situation and invites you to share in it.
It's proof that his success wasn't an accident. It wasn't just about showing up and being looked at.
No, it was cultivated through sharp wit and incredible self-awareness.
And that cultivated success, it started incredibly early. The stage beckoned when he was still just a child.
His first public exhibitions, according to our sources, included a debut in London in 1897.
He was only 8 years old.
8 years old, traveling internationally and exhibiting himself to large crowds in London. I mean, think about the self-possession required to manage that kind of exposure at such a young age.
It's almost unimaginable, and that experience in Europe, that was just the beginning.
It was. The catalyst for his move to the U.S. was a man named Magnano who ran a traveling puppet show.
A puppet show.
A puppet show. And Magnano recognized the profound appeal and, I think, the professionalism of young Frank and brought him to Middletown, New York to exhibit.
And that move was so successful that his entire family, the same family that was initially disgraced, subsequently immigrated to the United States to join him.
That's the amazing part of the story. This wasn't just a brief talent scout moment. This was a fundamental economic shift for the entire Lentini family. Frank's unique status became the engine for his family's successful immigration to America.
And once he arrived, he didn't languish in small-time acts. He immediately jumped into the big leagues. His stage name itself, the Great Lentini, suggests the sheer impact and draw he commanded from the start.
And that impact was sustained. His career longevity is truly astounding, we keep saying it, but over 40 years, he was the definition of an established headliner.
He worked with every major institution of the American circus golden age.
Every single one. The Ringling Brothers Circus, Barnum and Bailey, and, as you mentioned before, even the iconic Buffalo Bills Wild West show.
And to maintain high billing across that competitive landscape for 4 decades. I mean, that required so much more than just spectacle. It required impeccable business sense and absolute reliability.
Which leads us directly to the title his peers bestowed upon him, a title that speaks volumes about his character beyond the canvas tent.
They called him the King.
The King. That title is the ultimate indicator of his professional integrity in the often chaotic, transient, and sometimes cutthroat world of sideshows and circuses.
Right. Performers face instability, predatory management, deep prejudice.
All of it. So to be called the King didn't just mean he was the most physically unusual. It meant he was the most reliable, the most respected. It probably meant he was the person other performers turned to for advice, for assistance, or even for help with negotiation.
The sources suggest he was never prone to the vices that plagued many other performers, like alcohol or excessive spending. He maintained a level of professionalism that made him invaluable to management like Ringling.
And completely trustworthy to his colleagues. He wasn't just performing a role, he was managing a brand. He was functioning as an entrepreneur.
A true self-manager. And the heart of that management, his signature act, was brilliant because it actively engaged his anomaly, rather than just displaying it passively.
Exactly.
That signature act earned him his secondary stage name, the three-legged football player.
In his youth, this was the height of his showmanship. And you have to imagine the visual impact for a turn-of-the-century audience. Lentini would lie down, position his third, shorter leg, the one he couldn't walk on, and dramatically use it to kick a football across the stage.
This act is so crucial because it directly addresses the functional limitation we discussed earlier.
It does.
He couldn't use the leg for walking, but he could use it for a sudden, dramatic demonstration of muscle control and surprising power. It turned his difference into a prop for, athleticism and defiance.
It was an act of complete control. He flipped the narrative completely. It went from, look what's wrong with me, to look what I can make this appendage do.
He essentially weaponized the anomaly for entertainment.
That's a great way to put it. He was controlling the audience's perception of his body's functionality. He owned the story.
And while he was mastering the art of spectacle on the stage, he was simultaneously establishing permanence offstage. This commitment to stability is reflected in his path to becoming a formal American citizen.
Yes, and this is so important. Despite the constant travel required by the circus life, Lentini formalized his identity in the United States. He gained citizenship at the age of 30.
Which is a profound statement, isn't it? It's a statement about his commitment to his new home and, significantly, to the future stability of his family.
Citizenship was a crucial anchor point in an otherwise itinerant career. It showed he was here to stay, to build a life, not just pass through.
So we have the Great Lentini, the King, the American citizen, who is a master negotiator and performer. But the greatest challenge of this deep dive is always figuring out the person behind the persona. What was life like when the bright lights of Barnum and Bailey faded?
That's the question, isn't it?
When you think of a sideshow headliner, you might imagine a singular, isolated life, someone dedicated solely to the road. But Frank Lentini's life outside the tent was astonishingly conventional.
And robust. That domesticity is what truly sets him apart from so many of his peers.
It is the ultimate contradiction to the stereotype. In 1907, Lentini married Teresa Murray, who was 3 years his junior. And this was not a fleeting relationship.
No, it was a foundational, stable marriage established early in his major career. He prioritized building a home life even while leading the most unconventional professional life imaginable.
And crucially, they built a substantial family. They had 4 children. Giuspita, who is known as Josephine.
Natale, known as Ned, Francesco Jr. or Frank Jr., and Giacomo, or James.
4 children. I just can't get past that. Raising 4 children while headlining for the Ringling Brothers, it gives you incredible insight into Lentini's structure and organizational skills.
The circus life meant traveling 10 or 11 months out of the year, moving tents, trains, equipment almost daily.
The logistics of that alone are staggering. And you have to wonder about the specifics. Did the children travel with them for part of the year? Did Teresa establish a base home for stability?
Given his consistent success and his longevity, he must have been able to afford a very stable life for them. It's likely he purchased property that allowed his children to attend consistent schools while he was away on tour.
That commitment to domestic stability is, I think, the true measure of his success.
It really is. It shows that his ambition wasn't purely about exhibition or fame. It was about providing a conventional, respected life for his family, despite the unconventional means he used to achieve it.
He leveraged his unique reality to purchase normalcy for those he loved.
Which is a powerful driving force for anyone. Now his life was long, and like many long lives, it contained changes and complications.
Frank and Teresa did eventually separate. The sources place it around 1935.
Which suggests that the incredible demands of that lifestyle, even for someone as organized as Lentini, may have eventually put too much strain on the marriage after nearly 30 years.
But the narrative of his stability continues even after that.
It does. Following the separation, he entered into a new, long-term partnership with a woman named Helen Shoup, and they lived together until the end of his life.
So he demonstrated a lifelong capacity for companionship, connection, and domestic harmony.
Again, profoundly countering the stereotypes of the lonely, isolated sideshow figure. He was clearly a man who valued partnership.
And his professional life mirrored his personal stability. He kept touring well into his 60s and early 70s, adapting to changes in the entertainment industry. He died at the remarkable age of 77 on September 21st, 1966.
A long life, indeed. And it's noteworthy that the cause of death was lung failure, a common ailment for that era, but completely unrelated to the parasitic twin structure that had defined his entire career.
And he passed away in Jackson, Tennessee, a world away from his Sicilian birthplace, having lived a full, visible, and prosperous American life.
He really did.
And that longevity, that long arc of his life, it allows his echo to resonate so strongly in modern culture, connecting the world of the 19th century circus to contemporary media in some surprising ways.
Very surprising ways.
For you listening today, especially if you're interested in recent cinematic history, the most recognizable contemporary sighting of Frank Lentini is definitely on the big screen.
That's right. The huge 2017 musical film, The Greatest Showman.
Starring Hugh Jackman. It romanticized the birth of American spectacle, and Lentini was a key figure included in that portrayal.
He was brought to life by the actor Jonathan Rhys David. And regardless of the historical accuracy of the film itself...
Which is a whole other deep dive.
A whole other deep dive, yes. But his inclusion means that his image, the man with the unique configuration, has been reintroduced and solidified for an entirely new generation who may have never seen a black and white photograph of him.
He is now part of the modern cultural mythology of ambition and spectacle.
But maybe the most fascinating and surprising cultural reference, the one that really illustrates the depth and diversity of his influence, comes from a completely different world, the world of counterculture and rock music.
This is the kind of specific, unexpected detail we live for in the deep dive. Tell us about the Alice in Chains connection.
Okay, so in 1995, the seminal Seattle rock band Alice in Chains released their self-titled album. Because the album's cover art features a 3-legged dog, it's frequently referred to by fans as the Tripod album.
Okay, I'm with you so far.
And who is featured prominently on the back cover of that very album, Frank Lentini.
No way.
Yes, a picture of him as a young boy.
That is an immense leap across cultural genres. From the sawdust and spangles of the 19th century circus to the dark, introspective grunge scene of the mid-90s, why? I mean, why do you think that specific image of Lentini resonated so strongly with a band like Alice in Chains?
I think the connection is purely thematic. The Alice in Chains album deals heavily with themes of distortion, physical pain, addiction, and feeling fundamentally different or incomplete.
Okay.
Lentini's image, a boy with a physical configuration that challenges every norm, becomes an immediate visual metaphor for existing outside the conventional structure. It's a powerful symbol.
So it shows that his image transcends mere medical curiosity.
It absolutely does. It functions as a powerful symbol of identity and unique configuration in any context, whether it's a circus tent or a grunge rock album.
What's truly fascinating to me is how adaptable his image proved to be, from a symbol of Gilded Age entrepreneurial optimism in the circus,
To a visual emblem of outsider art in grunge rock.
to a component in a major Hollywood blockbuster. It just demonstrates that his story struck a chord that goes far beyond the initial shock value of his physical presence.
And that leads us to the synthesis of his life. Lentini's story endures not because he had 3 legs, but because he exhibited profound mastery over that reality.
He refused to allow the societal label of freak to define his existence.
Not for a second. Instead, he defined his own narrative. He insisted on respect, on humor, and on dignity throughout a 40-year career.
He transformed a condition that led to initial familial disgrace into an engine for family prosperity and a platform for personal respect.
He proved that what the world might deem a flaw can, through agency and wit, be converted into a profound professional asset.
And this is exactly what earned him the moniker the King. It wasn't just about showing up.
No, it was about showing up consistently, professionally, and with a level of self-respect that demanded the same from the audience and management alike. He set the standard.
So let's wrap up the deep dive into Frank Lentini's life by just summarizing the key insights we've uncovered here.
Let's do it.
First, we move beyond the simple label to understand the precise medical reality. He had a parasitic twin attached at the base of his spine. It comprised a pelvic bone, a rudimentary set of male genitalia, and the third leg that ended in a clubfoot.
And this was the source of his famed 3 legs, 4 feet, 2 sets of genitals count. It was a configuration he managed with exceptional physical control his entire life.
Second, we confirmed that he was a figure of immense professional stature. He was called the King by his peers. That's a testament to his professionalism and his reliability.
A 40-year career that spanned the absolute titans of entertainment, from Buffalo Bill's Wild West show to the Ringling Brothers. And that career provided him the stability to become a proud, established American citizen.
And finally, we saw the profound conventionality of his personal life, a life built on a foundation of domestic stability that defied all stereotypes.
He married Teresa Murray, had 4 children, Giuseppina, Natale, Francesco Jr., and Giacomo, and then maintained a long-term partnership with Helen Shoup, living a long, visible, and respected life until the age of 77.
His biography really stands as a powerful counter-narrative. He was born into shame in Sicily because of his condition.
And he forged a life of high public visibility, earning professional and domestic respect. He monetized his difference to secure a profoundly stable future for himself and his family. He didn't just survive the era of the sideshow, he mastered it.
He absolutely did. And that mastery, particularly his sense of humor about his own situation, brings us right back to that one wry quote that humanized him completely.
The best quote.
Lentini's famous complaint was that even with 3 legs, he still didn't have a pair. So here is our final thought for you to consider. How does the life and career of Frank Lentini challenge our modern, often rigid definitions of completeness or functionality in a career? If an individual's most unusual trait provides the unique lever for their greatest success and stability, at what point does that perceived limitation become their ultimate, definitive asset?
That's something to mull over as you reflect on the King of the Sideshow.